It's a huge honor to win this award. I was very fortunate to come to the University of South Carolina, not just for my master's degree, but also for my bachelor's degree. And I feel like the people that I met here and the professors that I worked with really helped shape who I am, not just as a social worker, but also as a person. I feel like my education here really provided me with a great base that I built from in my career. And so I feel like this recognition is not just a reflection of my work, but also a reflection of the skills that I gained during my time here. So I'm very grateful. Yeah. So I actually got my undergraduate degree in experimental psychology. And I initially thought that I wanted to get a PhD in clinical psychology. And so in my senior year, I worked and did a research assistantship with Dr. Mark Wiest, who does school-based mental health for the department. And I was able to learn a lot about the different types of interventions that are provided in the school setting, also about the efficacy of those interventions. And I really found that interesting. And so after graduation, I worked with Dr. Kate Flory as a clinician for her study on the prevalence of mental and behavioral health disorders. And I worked out in Kershaw County for that. And in that role, I worked with students and parents doing assessments to determine the prevalence of behavioral and mental health disorders, and then also providing resources to help support those families and make sure those students' needs were addressed. And during that time, I really loved that one-on-one work that I did with the families, doing those assessments, identifying what those needs were, and then most of all, connecting them with resources that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have had. And I struggled a lot more with the data collection and the data assessment. And so Dr. Flory really encouraged me to look into social work. And I'm really glad that I did. I found when I started that program, it felt a lot like coming home. I felt like I really found my niche in that profession, and I'm obviously still in it, and I love it, and it's super rewarding and fulfilling. And so I'm really, really glad that I ended up going that route. So I'm a school social worker, so I work in the school setting. And I think that anyone who works in the school setting will tell you that our students are oftentimes coming to school with more than just academics on their mind. They're often dealing with personal challenges, family challenges, and sometimes even issues in the community that really serve as barriers to learning for them. And social workers are really uniquely qualified to problem solve and help remove some of those barriers through crisis intervention skills, mental health services, advocacy. We have a really good understanding of the systems that impact folks. And so I think that that is a special skill that we have and we're able to provide in that school setting. I would say that I feel that the most important service we provide in the school setting is crisis intervention. We often get called into really difficult situations and sometimes very sensitive situations where we're having to make decisions very quickly and very intentionally. And sometimes these decisions can even impact the safety of our students. So things like mandated reporting in situations of abuse and neglect, domestic violence in the household, suicidal ideation, threat of harm to others. We work very closely with students experiencing homelessness and those in the foster care system. And we know that those children are often dealing with complex trauma. And unfortunately, we're often the folks who are called in when there's a death in the district. So that could be the death of a student, the death of a staff member, or the loss of a parent. And what that means is that oftentimes we're working with folks on what can be the worst day of their lives. And so it's really important in those moments that schools have folks who are trained professionals who can assess risk, help stabilize those individuals, provide evidence-based interventions, and then connect families with resources so that they're not only able to move past or work through that challenging situation, but then hopefully are able to thrive in the school setting afterwards. I also feel that our code of ethics is really valuable. It ensures that we are providing consistent services with integrity and a person-centered approach across disciplines. So whether you're in the medical setting or the school setting, we're providing those consistent services. So overall, I would say that social workers are valuable in the school setting because of our ability to remove barriers, advocate for our most vulnerable populations, and then, provide person-centered interventions. So I would say that the biggest piece of advice that I would give to new graduates is to make sure that you are extending the same grace to yourself that you're giving your clients and your colleagues. I think that this profession can be incredibly difficult, especially if you have not worked in the field prior to getting your MSW. It can be a little bit overwhelming jumping into it. Your school provides a really solid base for you. You've gotten a great education and hopefully gotten some really good internship experience. So definitely trust in that training that you've gotten. It has prepared you. But also keep in mind that you could spend 10 years in school and then in your first day in the field run into a situation that you've never experienced before. That is just the nature of the work that we do. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have bumps in the road. That's okay, and that's normal. And be gentle on yourself when you're doing that. But also, learn from the people around you, whether that's your colleagues or your clients. Your clients also have a lot to teach you. Use your code of ethics. It's there for a reason, and it will help you. And just trust in your education. You'll figure it out. This job can be very challenging, but it's also very rewarding. So make sure that you enjoy the good moments. We have a really unique opportunity to see folks at their most resilient, and that's really beautiful. So enjoy, give yourself grace, and lean on the people around you to support you, your colleagues.